Have any,
What were you saying, Pam?
I don't have captions.
I have the captions on. I can see them. Do you have it on your settings?
Um, I know these, you've said things about those three dots, but I can't find three dots.
So look on the bottom of the screen, on the bottom, and there's three dots. It should be on your right side. You don't have that menu.
No, I
At the
just
very
have
bottom.
apps, whiteboards, notes, and leave.
Well, between the notes and leave should be three dots
Expand your
in the
screen.
screen.
I'm full screen.
Oh,
Very strange.
because I have captions.
I do as well.
This is Nat. Pam, if you exit full screen, you'll see the control bar at the bottom. And there'll be icons at the bottom, and you'll want to tap on the icon that's a little white box with CC. And it's in between share and whiteboard.
Okay, now I have it.
Yay.
Then tap on CC, and then the captions will take a second
I
to
got it.
activate.
Thank you.
So next we have so I called this meeting to order at, I think it was 3:08, was it? May we have roll call, please?
Uh-oh. Is Vicky there? So I don't have my stuff in front of me.
Chair Gish,
Here.
Aurora Black,
Here.
Angelique Chavez,
Present.
Eli Fresquez,
Here.
Kendra Garcia,
Here.
Mariam Jahar, sorry,
Here. That's okay.
Gina Maria Apolescent,
I have not heard from her.
Pam Parfit,
Here.
and Christopher Palmier.
He's excused. Next we have approval of the agenda. And unfortunately, I cannot approve the agenda that was submitted to the city because I did not authorize or create that agenda. It was created by city staff, by the city. And the language used in the agenda is altering the intent and the context and also the actions of the items listed. And it is to an extent that it changes the meaning of what we are discussing. And so I am going to have a discussion, unfortunately, and take up time in this meeting to discuss what has been happening with our agendas, because every single agenda of this year has been altered in some way by city staff without my authorization. And the agenda for this month was created by city staff without my authorization. And in interest of that, I don't want someone to be blamed for creating it who didn't. I would like Daniel Lopez to state whether he did or didn't create this agenda.
I did not create the agenda.
Thank you. I appreciate that very much. So the history, the city clerk's office, and the city clerk, to my knowledge, did not create this agenda as well, but there's history of the city clerk altering my agendas, moving items to no vote without my authorization and only finding out once it's published. Not notifying me, not asking me to make changes, nothing. I find out through looking at it on PrimeGov that it's been changed. This year, when it started last year, early on last year in, I believe, February.
This February or
And-
last February?
Last February,
Okay.
when the city clerk's office began to state that all items that are under action need to have the action that will be taken clearly stated in the item, as if we, like, such as we are going to vote on something or we are going to amend something. And I have done my best to adhere to that. In February, for our February 7th meeting, we were supposed to be at that point voting on the BPAC resolution. And the item had been placed under vote by city staff. And I have an email from Jeff Norris that he moved it to no vote because city, and I can get the quote, but because because citizen advisory boards don't vote on resolutions, don't vote to support resolutions, was basically what he said.
And that's what you were being asked by the chair of the committee.
That's what we were being asked by the chair of BPAC to do. And so the city clerk's office impeded our ability to vote for the BPAC resolution on February 7th by moving it to no vote. At that time, the AARP resolution, which we were supposed to review but had not been presented to us in time, was under action items. When we held a special vote on February 14th, the city clerk's office had moved it again without notifying me or getting authorization from me. They moved it again to no vote, using the exact same language that existed when it was under action items on February 7th. On March 6th, I was notified that the city clerk's office didn't approve of me trying to change the outline for our agenda, to change it to what it is in this in the city agenda that was just submitted, to discussion and possible action items. And I was requested to stay with the action versus discussion items outline. And I had been told that numerous times before as well, whether that we couldn't change it because we used to use old business and new business. Hold on. We used to use old business and new business, and we were told by the city clerk's office that we now had to use action items and discussion, no action. And that was when Tom was our liaison. So on March 6th, I had to re-edit my agenda to appease the city clerk in order for them to post it, to allow it to change. And I felt that I could not have my agenda that I had submitted to the city, that I wanted to change so that they could not move items anymore to discussion, no action. I had to also add an identifiable, acceptable action to each item, which was a vote. I decided to add that we would vote on every item on the agenda so that they would not move them to discussion, no action. At that time, before the March 6th meeting, I had told Councilor Garcia that this was happening, that I was afraid that his resolution was going to be put under discussion, no action again, and that we would be impeded from voting and impeded from doing what was requested of us. He called the city clerk's office and he told me that he spoke with Xavier and asked them to not make any changes to my agenda without authorization from me as the chair. He said that Xavier said okay. And he was hoping that that would resolve this. Now, for our agenda this time, for this April 3rd meeting, 2024, I submitted my original agenda, which I have sent to all of the mayor's committee members as well. They all have a copy of it so that we can proceed with business as planned. I submitted this original agenda on Tuesday, March 26th, including all packet items. And on Thursday, I was notified that there was an issue with the agenda. And then I was notified that staff from the city, who I will refer to as the city, created an agenda, changed my language, reordered my items according to a different order, changed the intent by changing the language, changed the context of the items according to what I had written. It is completely different in meaning, in context, in what is being expressed to the community about what we are discussing. Sorry, this is very stressful. It is not my agenda. I was also notified that the city has issues with us having issues and concerns and expressing that in any form of writing. The agenda as presented by the city and as published by the city is not my agenda. All of the language under every understanding of censorship that I know is censored. Because we are expressing concerns and needs on behalf of the disabled community to the city. And those are not clearly identified in the agenda that was published by the city and created by the city. As such, we will be running this meeting according to my original agenda. We have a right to have the language as I submitted it as chair. And that is what we will be using. Vicky, I will send you my agenda so that you have it for the minutes. And I apologize for all of the extra work that will be needing to take place because of the change in the agenda. But we are proceeding with my agenda.
Move to approve the agenda as originally submitted by Kathleen Gish, Chair.
I second.
May we have a roll call vote, please?
Chair Gish,
Yes.
Aurora Black,
Yes.
Angelique Chavez,
Yes.
Eli Presques,
Yes.
Kendra Garcia,
Yes.
Miriam Jahar,
Yes.
Pam Parfit,
Yes.
motion carries.
Thank you. Next is approval of minutes of March 6, 2024. And Vicky, can you please explain to me or to us what we had discussed or what you had emailed me? Because something had changed with correcting the minutes, and I want that expressed. I don't know that the mayor's committee have that draft, so I will be sending them that draft. But express what you updated.
As you all know, I am still learning PrimeGov. And when I went in to do the minutes under, I believe it was 7C through F, I had done it as a motion and vote when all those items were actually tabled. So when it printed out, it said motion made by and seconded, and then there was no vote under it because it wasn't a vote. Those items had all been tabled. So I changed it to where it just says item tabled until April 3rd.
Thank you.
That's the only change that was made to it.
Thank you so much. Motion to approve the March 6, 2024 meetings as amended.
So moved.
I second.
Next is 4B.
We gotta do a, we
Okay,
gotta vote.
I'm sorry,
on
roll call, sorry. Roll call vote.
Chair Gish,
Yes,
Aurora Black,
Yes.
Angelique Chavez,
Yes.
Eli Fresquez,
Yes.
Kendra Garcia,
Yes.
Miriam Jahar,
Yes.
Pam Parfit.
Yes.
thank you very much. Next is approval of the Mayor's Committee on Disability edits to the March 6th CART transcript. If there are any further edits, please present them. And if there are no further edits, may we have a motion to approve the CART transcript as is?
Move to approve the CART transcript as amended by committee members.
Yeah, okay, thank you. Yes,
Us.
Yes.
Second.
And then we go.
Chair
Thank
Gish,
yes,
Aurora Black,
Yes.
Angelique Chavez,
Yes.
Eli Fresquez,
Yes, and I want to provide an explanation. I'll do it real quick. I wanted to thank Aurora for all her work with transcripts. Thank you, Aurora. It's amazing. We
Mhm.
appreciate you.
Thank you.
Yes, we do.
Kendra Garcia,
Yes.
Miriam Jahar,
Yes.
Pam Parfit.
Yes.
thank you. Next is public comments. Concerns and issues regarding accessible trash and recycling pickup for elderly and disabled residents, low-income credit process, and information available online. And Aurora, are you ready to present or?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, I came across this problem because I had huge amounts of apricot tree in construction bags and I was going to arrange a pickup. So I call the line for solid waste and it says special collections are on hold because the truck is being serviced. And I thought, oh, okay. Well, they didn't say how long. They didn't say anything. Well, come to find out, special collections is not just people with 5 construction bags of stuff. It's disabled and elderly people who make special arrangements with the city. They get a doctor's note and they sign a liability waiver because they're unable to get their carts to the curb. So they receive a service where city staff goes onto their property, pulls their cart to the street and empties it, and then returns it to its spot. And this is supposed to work for both trash and recycling. But the truck has been out of service and they don't say for how long. They don't say when it's going to be fixed. My friend who has the service wasn't notified and had a horrible, I mean, actually they came out and fixed it for her. Thank goodness. But you know, I mean, if it turns out the truck also goes down very narrow streets, it's a special collection group as well. But for everybody who's not on a narrow street, if this is an ongoing problem until they get the regular truck back, they could send out trucks on Friday because they got plenty that are not doing anything on Friday unless it's a holiday week. So, and to me, just okay, you know, trucks go out of service for you know, to be fixed and everything, but you've got to have a plan B. You've got to notify the people. You've got to tell them what you're doing instead and when that will begin. And I mean, it's just so open-ended. It could be 3 months. We don't know. So anyway, that's what I know about it.
Thank you, Aurora. And clearly this is a health and safety issue, an access issue. A lot can happen as a result of lacking adequate trash and recycling pickup. Pam, you have your hand raised.
Yes, I was going to say, it doesn't pertain just to people on narrow streets. There are 4 houses on the other side of one of the main city arroyos. And the access to the curb is about, I don't know, 1/10 of a mile uphill. And all of us have so much trouble, especially when it's inclement weather. Ice stays on that driveway forever. We have come to leave our trash and recycling bins 365 days of the year on the curb.
Good thing you don't have an HOA.
Hold on, because see what happens when people change my agendas is that all of my notes get shuffled and I can't properly function because was trying to figure out how to make the other agenda work and it just did not work. So 1 second.
I do want to say kudos to Daniel because he gave me the name of the person in solid waste and she contacted me and they went out on Saturday and fixed my friend's problem.
Yay.
I know, it was a big yay.
3
So,
weeks.
yeah, thank you, Daniel. And so one thing that happened with this is when I became aware of it, it reminded me of a similar history of similar things happening to several elderly people that I know with unclear trash pickup rules and, you know, whether they put it in the bin, whether they put it in a bag on the curb, you know, all of the different options that it says. And 1 second, I'm trying to find my notes and unfortunately, the draft that I have that's digital to me. Yes, Nat Dean, this is for public comment. Yes. And if you would like to speak and while I look for my notes, if you have something to say, please say it. Nat Dean and then Daniel.
Hi, I wanted to thank the committee for having me talk
You're
about.
on mute.
No,
I
You're
can
on
hear her.
mute.
No.
I'm not.
No.
I'm not on mute.
I can hear you.
Can people hear me?
Yes.
No.
This is Daniel. I can hear you.
Yes.
I wanted to thank the committee for having me present about service animals last month. Thank you. And if there are any questions that people have, I'm fine with trying to answer them, or my email can be shared. And thank you very much for having me as a guest last month.
Thank you, Nat.
I have the notes that you sent me
Yeah, I found them. I found
Okay,
them.
good.
I'm having to deal with the printed copy because I have too much happening because of
Mine are
everything.
printed too.
Yeah, so, and it's not, usually I do a mix of both, but I don't have the digital one today. Daniel, go ahead.
Yes, I wanted to go ahead and with regards to special pickups, I was informed that those pickups, whether they take the bin to the curb or whether they pick up the bags, that the trash needs to be put in bags for all purposes because the staff that goes and picks it up has to be able to put it into the truck. And
Okay.
sometimes it's not a normal trash pickup truck. It could also be a pickup truck. And that would help, and that's also part of the rules.
Yeah.
So,
My
but
friend has switched. She definitely uses bags now. There was
yeah,
a period about 20 years ago when they told us not to use bags,
yeah,
but that didn't
uh,
work at all because it's so
no,
windy.
yeah, and that's why they ask you to do that because then the trash could be everywhere. And 3 weeks going by without notification is something I don't find acceptable. I think a week afterwards, call people and say, we gotta let you know, our truck is broken down, we're not picking it up, and make arrangements to pick up disabilities. It could be, it's not a huge list, I'm sure, and they could make arrangements somehow. I mean, at bare minimum, rent another truck, something. The city has resources that it can do something.
Maybe that's why
There's
they didn't call them because they didn't have any, weren't going to offer anything, you know?
and that's something that, down the road I have to look into and follow up and ensure that we have things in place that trigger those actions because 3 weeks is way too long.
Well,
And then
I mean, have
and we're
they even
losing.
started again? I mean, is it still true that they're not collecting?
I haven't followed up on that. I know that the director was resigning. She was going to work for the state now. So
Oh,
now those things have changed. So now I got to follow up on that. And then this week I'm kind of out of commission. So I'll get into looking into that and find out what's going on. And I'll get back to you.
Thank you, Daniel. And so I wanted to bring up, I don't know if I can screen share feasibly for me at the moment with everything I've got happening. But I will say that, in the packet, I printed, the web pages, the information from the web pages, on the city website. And it states conflicting information such as this
Yeah.
service may include entry onto private property or into residential units to remove waste from porches, portals, and garages on one document. But yet on the on the website itself, but then on the medical certificate, it says request that your refuse collection driver retrieve the cart from your driveway, roll it out for service, and then place it back in its original location. It doesn't give any direction of like bagging things or weight or
Correct.
location or what to do if there's a miscommunication, or what to do if there's inclement weather, what to do if someone can't leave their home at all, like where do they put it? There's absolutely nothing that would indicate what to do and how to comply with the city's requirements that they have on their end, apparently, but are not communicating it to the public. And
Yes.
and the other issue is that the release of liability form is not a fully accessible format. It's a Word doc. It is incredibly hard to input because there's no boxes for text input. So you're basically typing on a Word doc and then that shifts the entire form when you're typing. Also, the addresses, it says the directions on the liability form for allowing people onto your property says to apply for special assistance, download, print, complete, and return. There's no alternative formats to make it accessible. And the addresses given on various web pages differ between 1142 Siler Road or PO Box 909, which is the City Hall web address, which means it would eventually get there. but the actual address is 1142 Siler Road, and it should probably be at least somewhat consistent with forms and, you know, where it's, because one form says Siler Road and the other form says PO Box 909. Which is confusing and makes it seem like it has to be mailed separately when it doesn't.
Yeah,
And then the other issue is the low-income credit process, that we have a credit for low-income households where they can get a lower cost for water, sewer, and garbage. That form is no longer linked in the trash collection web pages. You have to know, when you click on the link to get to it, it comes to a dead page. And you would need to know to go to the water department, search for a page, search for a link within a page of links. All it is a long list of links, and it just says low income credit. It's not even descriptive of exactly what it is. You would need to know what you're looking for in order to access it and use it. One thing that I can say is that, at least due to the efforts of the Mayor's Committee on Disability, that low-income credit form is accessible. It is an accessible format where you can type in and enter text without an issue and save it, email it off, and you can qualify for your credit if you income qualify.
and you can get that form at the water utility
Yeah.
website. So what
Yeah.
we probably should do is remove this link from the trash, since it's not their area.
It is, well, the low-income credit applies to both water, sewer, and garbage, because our
Oh, okay.
utilities here are one utility. And so it's not separate. And so it actually needs to be relinked is what it
Okay,
needs to be.
relink.
It
We need
needs
a-
to be,
we need a-
yeah,
Okay, relink.
yeah.
Okay,
Thank you.
thank you. That
Yeah.
helps.
Yeah.
So
Go ahead.
are we taking any action on this item?
We can't take any action because it's a presentation.
Okay,
As
So
far
it's-
as I know, it wasn't intended to be an action.
It's
It was
just discussing.
intended to voice it and, you know,
Okay.
and maybe discuss it, kind of on behalf of constituents.
Okay,
Yeah.
no action. Okay.
Yeah.
Good.
So next, Eli, I know you were asked to not present, and so you're probably not prepared, and that's okay. We will do it next time. If you're not, just let me know.
This is on accessible documents, the CLI here. Is it on accessible documents
Yeah,
or the
The
website?
presentation on accessible documents.
Yeah, I don't have my PowerPoint, so
Okay.
be happy to present.
That's fine.
But as we were discussing, right, making sure that you have documents that are accessible is really important. There's a lot of best practices out there. So
Yes.
excellent.
Thank you, Eli. So next is request for disabled committee members' participation in advising from members of BPAC. I don't know if there's members of BPAC here, of the Bicycle and Pedestrian Advisory Committee. If so, you can have the floor. I know that a lot happened with the BPAC resolution, so I completely understand about everything that's happening that is shifting. But I wanted to express again what had happened with the meeting of the BPAC committee, and that we had been in discussion and are continuing to plan to be in discussion of how our committees can participate with each other on shared goals. So things like public rights of way, pathways, sidewalks, and collaborating to assure that both, you know, BPAC and the mayor's committee's voices are heard with each of the changes that we will be presenting. And what did I do with the resolution? I don't have it in front of me. So part of what happened was with the resolution and the being involved with the Bicycle and Pedestrian Advisory Committee is that they had presented the resolution, which just passed last Wednesday, and they had presented it to us asking for our input on any changes or language that we wanted. And I have to say, it has been the most respectful process to work with a resolution. They have made sure that we had the time that we needed to not feel pressured. They have made sure that we had the time that we need to be heard, to look at alternatives of saying how we want to say things, presenting it, you know, even representing it when the city clerk's office delayed our vote, and giving us that time to really look at the language and how it would affect people with disabilities in this community. And it is literally the most respectful process I've ever experienced with a resolution, and I am incredibly grateful for Councilor Garcia. Councilor Michael Garcia listened to us, took the time to respect us, took the time to call me and explain to me, okay, now it's been submitted to whatever city staff, city clerk, wherever it was, this is what's happening next. I didn't ask him for that at any time. He found out that it was helpful for me. He found out that it helped me to plan and prepare myself for what was next. And he just did it out of respect. And I am incredibly grateful. A lot of the times with resolutions, I have not been able to participate because they present it 2 days before it's going to the governing body for vote. And with people with disabilities, we sometimes need more time to process things, to plan for things, to think about alternatives, think about how things affect us, and have that time to express that, whether verbally or through writing. And that happened with BPAC and Councilor Michael Garcia. And so hopefully they will be able to meet to make the next meeting in May, because I really look forward to our discussions and what we come up with. They want to edit their resolution for their committee to include disabled citizens or members or whatever we decide, like however we discuss it, and it's up to us as two committees coming together to resolve shared goals. That is up to us to decide what we want to do, and we have that right. And so I'm very excited going forward. We will also be working in alignment with BPAC because the resolution requires that we look at the mid-year budget and have a process to review budgeting and things like that. And I will be requesting that BPAC or Councilor Garcia, whoever is able to attend in May, give us all of those details so that we can plan and prepare. And that we will be prepared when that happens. We will know exactly what to do, how to respond, and all of that. So it's very exciting. It's very exciting things happening with BPAC committee. So go ahead, Daniel, go ahead.
Yes, with that being said, also we should acknowledge the work that Representative Faulkner assisted with in bridging the Michael and everyone, and also taking into consideration the needs of the MCD. And she's on the finance committee. So in the future, if you're going to be involved in the budgeting issues, you can, as a chair, reach out to her and catch up with what's going on, just like Michael did with you.
Yes, thank you so
Okay.
much. Yes, thank you. Eli, go ahead.
Yeah, this is Eli here. Yeah, I just want to echo everything that Chair Gish said about the BPAC resolution. And just emphasize that there was a lot of ADA language that was incorporated and took from the Mayor's Committee on Disability. So you have some ADA compliance language in there. referencing Title II. You have a lot of other really great integrated language that helps with compliance and best practices around this resolution. So I was actually just really pleasantly surprised with the amount of integrity of the process, but also the outcome and what the resolution has. And I think it's going to just add to the overall health and well-being of the city to have these pedestrian and bike pathways accessible and usable, and leveraging the MCD and also the laws and best practices that the ADA and other guidance has for us. So great job. It was really I think it's probably going to be one of the best resolutions in the country when it comes to access and pedestrian right of way and bike paths.
So do we have somebody who wants to go to these meetings every month, like Pam? Or is somebody else who likes bicycles? Because they want somebody, right? They want us to send somebody. Is that
Yeah.
correct?
That's one of the options. Yeah, there's multiple options. I mean, there's options where we could be on their committee. They could attend, we could attend their meetings. Their meetings are remote. So they're both hybrid, virtual and in person. We haven't discussed it yet. That was what we still need to discuss. And
Maybe
it was
between the
delayed.
two chairs, you guys can come
Yeah.
to an agreement
Yeah.
or
Who
talk
wants-
about a process.
Who wants to do it?
I
Margaret.
would suggest Chairman Gish, you contact the chair and together come up with something. Because to make you part of their committee is a process that they have to go through to officialize that. In the interim, you can decide who's gonna attend, or everyone can take a part in it so they can get familiar with that other committee, so that way everyone, when they're talking about it, understands the committee.
Well, I think we should put forward somebody who wants to do it, and they could attend the meetings, and then if they want to do more, I mean, if the committee wants to bring them on board or whatever, evolves. But if we identify a person who wants to do it, I think would be the first step.
Yeah, and that's what we're gonna discuss all together with the BPAC being here. Pam, go ahead.
I didn't catch everything you just said, but as far as interest, it's very stressful for me to go in person, online, in any form and deal with captioning, access, loops, anything. So that when it meets and how I would be accommodate is overwhelming to think about. So part of me says, yes, sign me up. I'm a cyclist and a walker, and I'm sick of the poor condition of all of this. Other part says, yes, I'm a perfect person to get the city to be aware of how inaccessible their meetings are. And then on the other hand, I just think one of these a month is enough. It just,
I agree.
I'm exhausted by the end of this. Listening fatigue. So, I can't do anything after this meeting.
I hear you.
Yeah.
We could get Kendra to do it.
When is it? Where is it? Who's running?
So the
captioning?
BPAC, yeah, so the BPAC meetings are at City Hall in our old office. So what we used to use for the Mayor's Committee meetings, that's where they meet. Nadine, go ahead.
Yeah, city
Oh, yeah.
council chambers.
Yeah.
And my question is, Daniel, do you know if that new loop is working?
They tell me it's working. We
Can
gotta
I-
test it.
Access a little listen.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to like I said, we were waiting for the other two loops to come in so we can test both of them. And we're still waiting for those other two loops to come in. They're being
Sorry, I don't-
purchased. They're being purchased, and then that way we can test both loops and the city council chambers. Because Clerks wants to do a mock, like a mock hearing So that way we can test it with you and anyone else who is interested. And then that way we could find if there's a spot where it works better, then we could designate that to be the better location and identify seating in that location if that's necessary.
I'm sorry, but I don't know anything about other loops. Are you talking
Well,
the,
we're purchasing other portable loops, hearing loops. And when they come in, we want to test those with you and also the city council chamber fixed loop.
okay,
Because
so
we're gonna have two portable loops that's for groups. And then we're gonna have we have the city council chamber loop system that's fixed. And so when the two loops come in, we want to test that both loops with you and anyone else who's interested. So
do you
there,
have an idea of where those loops are going to be, the portable ones? Are they, what are the designated places they're thinking of using them?
we're looking at emergency management, definitely because of concerns there, and city clerks for the availability of committees, and also for public meetings to make them available for public presentations. So if the city's going to do a presentation somewhere, they take one of the loops to be available for those with hearing impairments.
I have much to say about portable loops when the time comes.
Okay, that's why we need your input.
Yeah, thank
And
you, Pam.
let's just test those systems.
Yeah, thank you, Pam. Nat?
I-
Nadine?
Sorry, I understand that I'm not a member.
That's
but
okay. We allow people to speak throughout the meeting. So,
When two people are speaking at the same time, it's zero captioning because there's no way to differentiate when two people are communicating at the same time. So I'd just like to ask that as a guest, it just doesn't, it's just wrong to have two people speaking at the same time. And that doesn't work for an interpreter or for a hard of hearing or looping. So it's just a request. Thank you. And my apologies for interrupting the meeting.
no, thank you, Nat. I really appreciate the input and feedback and reminders. We all need it. Go ahead, Eli.
Yeah, Chair Gish, I want to just go back for BPAC and looking for a volunteer from this committee. I'm really busy, but I wouldn't mind helping to support the mayor's committee and being even an interim person to go to some of the meetings and help support and communicate with the MCD and also with you, Chair Gish, just to keep this momentum moving. And support in particular the accessibility piece of this, disability rights, etc. So you can put me down as a interim volunteer for this to help support.
Yes,
Okay.
thank you. And they meet the second, is it the second Thursday? I'll get the information to everyone so you can check your calendars. I don't have it on hand. So but it's the week following our meeting usually. Sometimes it does fall on the same week, but it's usually the week after. So I will send that to everyone and so you can check to see if you can participate. Like I said, we can join by Zoom. We do not have to be in person. So you do not have to have transportation or be in person at City Hall. You can join by Zoom and participate as a member or whatever we choose. You know, it's all on the table. So so next item is 7B.
I have 6.
oh.
Are we on, okay, 5 was BPAC?
Yeah, so we're using my original agenda, unfortunately, which you don't have.
Okay, so we're doing item 7?
Yeah, so yeah, and I'm gonna read it, and I'm sorry that I didn't send it to you.
It's okay, don't worry, I'm keeping up.
Yeah, okay. So the item that we just did was 7A, request for disabled committee members' participation and advising from members of the BPAC. Next
Okay.
is 7B, request for Mayor's Committee on Disability to receive city attorney, city council staff trainings on code of ethics in the city.
Code of ethics,
Eli, you
okay.
wanted to discuss that.
Yeah, so about a month ago, I attended a city hall meeting and the counsel's office for the city presented on code of ethics. And I thought it was a really nice presentation. And so I actually think that every committee, advisory or not, should have some presentation at once throughout the year talking about the code of ethics, which is section 1-7 SFCC 1987. So I just think it would be a nice introduction for them to come and present and maybe take some questions. I think there's a little bit of there's some questions about where we fall into all of this that hopefully we might be able to discuss with them and share. And it just goes back to, you know, the better process for the committee, making sure that everything that we're doing falls in line with the code of ethics, or where there is some gray areas and that we may want to provide our own recommendations for. So again, it was a great presentation that I listened to at the broader City Hall meeting, and I thought, why not invite them for us to listen? Doesn't have to be long, with the little Q&A in there as well.
Okay.
Daniel, go ahead.
Yeah, that's a good idea, but what I was told on this item by people involved, they said that because you don't make any legislative decisions or any budgetary actions or anything like that, that the code of ethics involves like accepting gifts and things of that nature and all that jazz. That they didn't feel that it was something that the committee members were required to have. I do recognize that you want to know what that means, or maybe a code of ethics could be developed for committee members on how to manage themselves as representatives of a city committee. But that's something that maybe a dialogue can start with the attorney's office, and maybe start off with a request outlining what you're looking to have. It may cover the legislation law that you just quoted, but also talk about code and ethics for committee members like yours, because it's different. And that's what they said to me. So I don't know if they're open to it or when they would be open to it, because right now they're really busy from what I understand. And I'm not saying they're going to say no to it. I'm just saying that we would need to request something of them. And I don't think the doors close on that. But that's what I would suggest.
Thank you for that suggestion, Daniel. And yeah, we, as the mayor's committee, have requested orientations to the city. We requested, you know, like, because I was an intern, so I when I was paid and as an intern, I got to participate in the city orientation and understand the functioning of the city and the internals of the city. I didn't have to stay for the healthcare stuff and all of that because that's not applying to me, but I did have to attend the basic orientation, and it was extremely helpful to understand how the city is functioning internally. And I know that this committee has not received that kind of training. And it's the same thing with, you know, we have this rules and procedures for city committees. We've never been trained on that. It's not even linked to the city website, you know, all of those kinds of things that should be in the orientation. Here's how city committees run. Here is what happens with the agendas. Here is what happens with, you know, the rules. This is what your rights are. That's not happening at all. We get no orientation to when we join these committees. We are just, I felt thrown in, and I was an intern with connections with the city for years. And it was a very steep learning curve to learn how a city functions, how an agenda works, how all of these things within the city happen. And
Yes.
yeah, so go ahead, Daniel.
Yes. In recalling what a meeting a time ago that I had, I know that the deputy city manager, who currently is on maternity leave, she was the one looking at enhancing training for city staff. Maybe she's the contact to discuss training for city committees on overall things like you're talking about, orientating you to what's required of you as a committee member now that you joined. Like maybe an orientation meeting for members who come on board, like new members of a committee who have no clue why what's expected of them, behavior and objectives and what a committee is and is not. So that way, it gives them a little more sure footing on what they need to be doing. So, and
And
not
also,
do,
and yeah, sorry. And also
yes,
to be a resource to go to if you need guidance, because we don't have any of that. We are just on our own, literally to find PDFs on the city website that aren't even linked on the city website for guidance of what happens in a committee, because it was removed when the city was updating their website. So, yeah, so we will return on this item, as probably in May. I think I'll put it on the agenda again in May. I want to expand it those to just be orientation, ethics, all of it, because we really need guidance. And throughout this process, one thing that I've been doing is looking for guidance from other communities and citizen advisory boards. And I see that across the country, there are literal handbooks that give full guidance of things to do when, when a resolution is presented to you. Here's the process. Here's what to expect, or here's how to resolve something. Here's how to resolve a conflict, or if you need staff support, here's what happens. Along with just guidance of running a committee, running a meeting, participating, what your rights are, all of that. It's all in that
or
handbook.
maybe that PDF guideline that you found
Mhm.
needs to be something that could be presented to be updated
Yeah,
for committees.
yeah. And have
This is,
committee input. It needs committee input. Yeah.
and as a chairperson of one of the committees, this is Daniel. As a chairperson of one of these committees, you know of all the other committees. Maybe you coordinate with the other chairs and discuss this as a group of where you see all of you, the different committees wanting to see it go. So that way there's a cohesive process for every committee to come under. And that's up to you as citizen committees to decide how you want to approach that. The city is going to address city related items that are of the four committees in the governing body, but nothing. I don't think anything's stopping you guys from figuring it out for yourself and expressing the deficiencies that you're experiencing.
Yes, thank you, Daniel, and I agree. And I would be happy to start that process and reach out to the existing committees. Do you know if I guess it would be the city clerk's office would have a
They would
list?
have all of them, and you
Okay,
could do that. You can request
yeah.
that. That's an open record, and you
Yeah.
know that.
Yeah. Okay, I will do that.
Of course, they'll get scared a little,
It
but
was
you're
funny
not going to
when
do
I
anything.
emailed,
You're not going to do anything crazy. You
no,
know you're not. You
no.
know you're not.
When I emailed Xavier to ask, and they still have not sent me an OCR copy of that PDF, by the way. So I have the ability to OCR it myself, very limited. If it's clear print, it will OCR, otherwise it becomes computer code. But I signed my name, Kathleen, and he greeted me back with Chair Gish, and I was like, okay. They know me.
Yeah.
So let's see. So I think we can move on to the next item. Next item is 7C, city website. And it's a long one. I need to make this more cohesive in the next meeting, but discussion and requests of city staff to resolve issues outlined in the website accessibility report, which is in your packet. Updates and discussion on follow-ups on features of accessibility, and a vote on moving forward with actions to be determined. And Eli, would you like to present on what has been happening with this and the website? The website was updated, I believe, if I remember right, in September or October of 2022. And things have happened since. So go ahead, Eli.
Yeah, thanks. This is Eli. So I took a look at the website and did two things. I ran an automated test through the website and also did a manual test. And I did this voluntarily just back in December, right around the holidays when I had a little spare time. And I used the standard of what's called the Web Content Accessibility Guidelines, WCAG 2.1 AA, which is basically the industry standard right now for websites. It came up with a number of automated barriers. Now, this isn't unusual. Most websites will have lots of barriers on their page. It's kind of hard to quantify them because some barriers are more significant than others. So just saying that you have 20 barriers is worse than 10 barriers is not necessarily true, because one of those 10 barriers could be something that limits a screen reader, for example, from being able to even access a website. So this report used what's called WAVE, W-A-V-E, and WAVE is from WebAIM, which is out of the University of Utah, and they are considered one of the best evaluators out there to do those evaluations based on WCAG 2.1 AA. And so in the report, I kind of encapsulated the things that the WAVE found. In addition to that, I also went through it manually to check on those automated sort of features that it found to be inaccessible, to double check them, and also to find other ones. So a classic example could be that the automated checker finds something that shows it to be out of color contrast. There are color contrast requirements on a website based on the Web Content Accessibility Guidelines, but sometimes the automated checker might get it wrong. You can go in there, you can look at it with your own eyes, and then you can run it through your own evaluator for that's specific for these kinds of issues that come up with low color contrast or high color contrast that's inappropriate. That could actually make viewing the website very difficult. That's just an example. So some of the core issues found was alt text missing, right? So these are embedded image descriptions and images, very common, but very important. Low color contrast, missing labels. So these are things that screen readers will use in order to have a functional form online. Other things was an inaccessible carousel. So this is that bar that goes across that has the different images in like a carousel function. There were other things like inaccessible PDFs, right? We know about that. That's an issue that is very common. There was some other features as well that I found that were very common throughout the website, and including many forms that if you were using a screen reader, you wouldn't be able to fill out. So if you are using a screen reader and you're trying to fill out some of the city forms, you won't be able to do it. Your screen reader will get stuck. Again, want to be careful here. Not uncommon. This happens a lot, but it's just an opportunity to make the website even better. Some other recommendations that I made was to, of course, remove the overlay. That's something that we've been recommending for quite some time. The reason why is because often the overlay, in particular the one that's being run by Accessibility, will trap screen readers. So you get stuck in the overlay and you're not able to go around it. I've talked with many people in the blind and low vision community, and when they come to those kinds of overlays, they actually don't even go to the website. They don't even bother because it's so inaccessible. And then the last thing here is to have an accessibility statement on the website as well. And that's a recommendation. And that's a best practice, right? But it's also very helpful. One, it gives a conformance standard for what the website is trying to meet up to. Doesn't necessarily mean it has to meet that conformance standard, but that's like its principle, that's its guidelines. Others, if there are inaccessible features on the website, you can highlight those. Also provide best practices, like there are free screen readers available for people, or what sort of software you may want to use that's free or out there or even paid that you might want to have. So resources. And then the last thing is a point of contact. So somebody in the city that you can reach out to if you are having these kinds of accessibility issues. It could be an ADA coordinator, could be somebody who works in communications, or it could also be, somebody who's the website developer. It just depends on how they want to manage that. So this report isn't meant to be a gotcha. It's actually a point in time, right? So it was done a few months ago. And so things have changed. Websites evolve and change, sometimes daily, and sometimes they are inaccessible, then become accessible and back and forth. So it is a snapshot in time, but it's also meant to be a place of improvement. Like here are things I found back in December that are pretty systemic across all the web pages. And here's some best practices on how to improve that. Also in here, I included like reasons why, we should make websites more accessible, examples of how to have image descriptions. So it's a process, and I hope it's helpful. And I hope that, as we move into the future, obviously people are going less and less to City Hall or to the city county office to file complaints or to get SNAP benefits or whatever they need from government. Instead, they're on their phone, they're on their computer. So I think it's an investment. When we invest in these accessibility features, it's really an investment in best government and our obligations under Title II.
Thank you, Eli. Daniel?
Well, I got some good news about accessibility. Regina and I worked on a memo that I drafted that I sent to, that I'm sending to the web, asking them to remove accessibility. Regina is going to go ahead and sign sign off on that as it goes through. So I finished that last week. I'm going to send it to her probably after this meeting, probably tomorrow. I can't say after this meeting. And then she'll sign off on it, and then I'll send it over to them. And we're asking them to remove it because it's a barrier, and that's all we're saying to do. Because it is, and that's what I decided to do, put it as a memo instead of a letter.
Thank
And
you.
I can give a copy of the memo to the committee at the next meeting.
Yeah, that's what I was going to ask next. Thank you so much, Daniel. Let's see. So we have an opportunity to vote to move forward. One of the things that was discussed about this in the past is sending Eli's report to city staff so that people can so that the city staff can make the changes that are being requested. I know that there's been a shuffle and a lot of things going on in the last few months. So, but that needs to move forward. And so if we need to hold a vote to move that forward to the appropriate staff so that it is sent to them, we were originally supposed to hold a meeting together and go over it. That didn't happen. And numerous other things have not occurred that really should have occurred and that really were requested. And so I would like feedback from the mayor's committee members, in particular Eli, since you wrote the report, of what you are wanting to have happen for city staff to receive that, and what actions are we requesting of city staff?
Yeah, I'll go ahead and start. I think it's helpful to have it in more of a conversation, because I think putting it out there in a vacuum may be a little hard for folks to quite understand. This isn't a gotcha document. It's really meant to be helpful. WebAIM, who I just mentioned, who does the Wave Evaluator, has evaluated 1 million websites, and over 95% of websites have some barrier. It's kind of similar to physical access. There's a lot of barriers out there, right? So there's just room for improvement, and that's what it's meant to be. But I think if you send it out like into the vacuum, it may be seen as, oh no, what did we do wrong? That's not what it's about necessarily. It's really about how do we make these improvements. Even small improvements over time can really add up. And it's about developing a work stream that is accountable to these kinds of best practices. It's only going to be in the future. So be happy with sending it along. But also, I think it's better to have a conversation maybe with Daniel and other city folks in order to explain to them that this report and these kinds of best practices are really here as a way of improving city services And actually, if you follow these, this will increase your customer base. This will increase the number of people you can reach out to in the disability community, because so many people can't participate, can't get city services because the websites and other kinds of social media are inaccessible. So this is more of, I want to preface this as an opportunity as much as these are some things we can fix, but here's the opportunity and here's why.
Thank you, Eli. Daniel?
Okay, yeah, I agree. We should approach this delicately. It's not intentional that they're being standoffish. It's, you know, it's human nature. People take things wrong sometimes, and they think that you're attacking, and you're really not. You're critiquing the environment, and allow me to be the conduit to send that message, and then to bridge some form of relationship between you and them, and that way we can bring you guys in as an assistance to enhancing the website, and not just calling it a change or a compliance issue, more of enhancing it, because even now they're going towards a new rebranding concept of the city with logo and things of that nature, and the color schemes I'm concerned with, because they're light in color and the contrast might not be there for the visually impaired. And so that is a subject matter that I need to bring up with them. The webmaster, Erin, is the one that we want to coordinate best with, because through her, those changes can take place. And down the road, I want to also work on a digital and communications policy with her as a city government, to have something in writing for staff to understand when they put meetings together, what they need to have, when they put presentations together, how do you make it accessible? When you post something on the website as a change, what standards you need to adhere to. And they don't have a policy per se, but I know they're as they formalize things in the city government and its operations, that is something they would be interested in doing. But it's a slow process, and I first need to make the first contact. I'll take your report with me. We'll talk about it, and I'll show them so they can understand, and then try to bring them to understand that your participation is essential to help us to know that we're doing better. You know, that you reassess it again and give us better feedback. So it's not that they're not wanting to do it or that they're being aggressive in any way. It's intimidating to them sometimes.
Thank you, Daniel and Eli. Are there any
Chair Gish,
further?
I'll just,
Yeah, go ahead.
yeah, real quick, and I'll just mention that, and we had talked about this too, Daniel, you know about this, the notice of proposed rulemaking from the federal government. So the Department of Justice, who enforces the ADA,
Yeah.
in particular ADA Title II, has put out a technical proposed rules for websites for state and local government, right? We're local government, so it will be applying for us. Now, when those proposed rules will actually be finalized is a little unknown. However, there has been some talk in the community that could be as soon as this month that those proposed rules may come out. So this is very timely, and it's an investment in not just providing better services, but also if the Department of Justice were to go to our website and say, hey, what's going on here? It's kind of similar to physical access, right? And their involvement in 2000 with the city. So this is a good investment of our time and resources to get it right now.
Definitely.
We're closest to it is right, because I think there is going to be greater compliance in the near future.
Yes.
Keep talking when I'm on mute. Has everyone said what they need to say for this item? If so, we will move on. Okay. And thank you both. I really appreciate that. Next is planning and actions to receive training on emergency ADA kits in 2024. I know that it was mentioned a little bit about the mobile loop But I think, Daniel, if you could just give a really brief update, of what you know of, where they are, where's
Okay,
the process?
the kits are with Brian at Emergency Management. And yes, I told him we need to do the training on that. He also said those kits, the portable loop system and the fixed loop system at City Chambers would all three be tested and we can all receive some training on that. So it's not going to just be limited to Pam and people with hearing impairments, but the kit involves other things. And so we want to do that one-stop training so that we can have a good discussion. Someone had suggested that we do it during city council meeting, and I said, no, we need to have a dialogue after we go over each component. So that way, if there's something that's not working, then we make that determination. Of course, those kits are limiting in themselves. And so we can again have a discussion as to where would be the best place to place them, because the other loop system is a better loop system. And maybe those kits can be utilized in something else, but we have to have that discussion when we do the training and we see how it works. And that's what I want to do. How long is it going to take to get those kits? He told me his vendor got COVID, so give him 30 days because he's becoming a vendor and the purchase is ready to be made. The money's already been done. The PO's executed. It just has to get things pushed through and then delivered to us. Because he was gonna give me an answer also because there's a new version of that fixed loop of that portable loop system that they're buying, and he was gonna give me a time how long it's gonna take to deliver. So when I have that time, I will communicate that to you, so that we know when that training is gonna happen. Because I mean, I told Brian, you keep telling me it's coming, and I keep telling people it's coming and it's not here. So I don't like this feeling. Give me a time, give me a date. And even Regina's a little frustrated with me saying that it's coming. And I hate saying that. So I'm going to hold him down a little more to an actual date. So I apologize that it's been delay. It's not my intent to do that. I do want everyone to know that these kits are coming. We still want to utilize the other kits and the loop system does work. We just want to confirm it with the committee. And everyone coming over would be a benefit to us.
And is there any way that we can receive an itemized printout or something of what is in each kit? Because
Yeah.
that happened when we purchased the prior kits, we were informed of what was included in each kit, so that we could plan and prepare and think about how that could be utilized in our community and identify those.
You mean the itemized in the portable kits, the oldest ones? Is
The
you
new
re-
ones,
refer-
yeah. So in the old ones,
the-
we were notified what was in them. So the new ones, I'm asking if we can be, if we
Okay,
can be
the
notified.
new one is just going to be a portable looped system. It's not going to be a kit.
Okay.
It's just a portable loop system. So there's no other equipment associated with that. And the kits that you're familiar with are those kits and what those items are in there.
Okay.
And I do want to I should get us an itemized. If we don't have it, resend that so everyone remembers what we have in those kits. And of course, we're discussing renovations to City Hall chambers. I'm involved in that. I want to make sure nothing happens to the loop system, because if they tear down a wall, we don't want to have something break or something like that. So I'm on top of that, and we'll see. But that's down the road. They're talking about, and this is preliminary discussion. It's not official in any way, shape, or form. That we may be spending somewhere between $400,000 to $1 million, $400,000 to $1 million in changes to City Hall chambers, and to enhance it. And it includes making it more accessible. And I want it with more signage.
And seating and podium and.
Yeah, especially the podium, that was brought up, especially the podium, especially where the die, how it's configured, how it's designed, with the anticipation that we'll have various types of disabilities of members of council that will be on there. I told them right now we have someone who's visually impaired. Next thing you know, we're gonna have someone with a hearing impairment. Next, we'll have someone in a wheelchair.
Yeah.
We don't know. So we need to anticipate and make a universal design for council chambers and the die.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, and I'm hoping that the mayor's committee will be a key part of that. Because right now the council chambers are not even accessible to me, and I'm not a wheelchair user. But a big part of why I don't speak is because in order to speak in person, you have to stand in line, you have to stand at a podium. The stenographer is the one who is seated. You have to basically boot her out of her position and say, I need to sit down. And it's not accessible. So
Yeah, so that's being discussed,
okay.
rearranging how everything's done. And so that's all preliminary discussion where
Okay.
there's been various versions of design, but now I'm involved and we're looking at it. And when it's available for public review, then that's when we'll present that. Of course, that's going to be available for public review when it goes before council,
Right.
and that's when they'll make it available. Otherwise, because I'm not the person in charge of that project, and they're going to be the ones to decide how it's presented to the public.
Thank you for that information, Daniel. Eli, go ahead.
Yeah, Chair Gish, I wanted to go back to emergency management and the loops and all that. There was a news article that came out recently about Brian Williams and
Uh-huh.
some of the emergency management initiatives that were being done in the city. And it just kind of reframed it in my mind that I do think that the Mayor's Committee on Disability, and we've talked a lot about this, we've had Brian here with us as well, about making sure that we can provide input, feedback, and some best practices around disability access and functional needs in the whole life cycle of disaster and emergency management. I think all the folks here have lots and lots to share about how we can make emergency plans, in particular preparedness and evacuations, more accessible to the broader community. Not just the disability community either. I mean, we can talk about folks who are low income or have transportation access issues or language access issues. So I think I would be open to having that feedback and that collaboration again with Brian. Kendra and I, for example, we did a walkthrough of the emergency shelter that was set up during the last wildfire event in 2022. And we walked through, we gave some feedback. It was done very well. They didn't actually have anybody there at the time we did the walkthrough, but that's just an example of Brian being open to our collaboration. And I'm not sure exactly what that would look like. It could be a series of best practices. It could be that we look at some of the plans and provide some input on access and functional needs. It could be a community meeting that we host with Brian so that he talks about what is going on in the city as far as evacuation, emergency preparedness, and our input. So I'm really open to, there's a lot of different ways of doing this. And as I've mentioned, and we've talked about this, emergency management in the 21st century is really about whole community. It's about connecting different people with different resources, different organizations, both government and non-government together in partnership to plan for emergency events. I'm really thinking of wildfire right now, but it could be even active shooter, it could be floods. There's a whole host of things. So I'd be open to having conversations with Brian Williams. I know he's been open in the past and leveraging the expertise from this committee to help support the city's emergency management.
Yes.
Thank you,
Yep.
Eli. And so one thing I wanted to ask about this, because I didn't see it mentioned in the article, was that Brian Williams recently did a training for the city on emergency evacuation. And I was wondering if disability was included in any way in his presentation.
Yes.
Okay.
This is Daniel. Yes, I was at that training. Regina was at that training. It was on Good Friday. And we simulated a fire in an upper portion of the other portion of the city, and that a fire was coming towards the city. We placed items, barriers and situations that would impede evacuation, and we discussed. One of them was having to evacuate people with disabilities that were calling and were trapped, and how were we going to get to them? So we had transportation was there. We were discussing how we would get smaller vehicles out there to gather people. And one of the things I was suggesting for the future is that we have the paratransit list. In El Paso, when I did this for emergency management, we identified the various types of disabilities, identified cluster areas in certain parts of the city, and we coordinated various types of transportation. Because if you have more people who are deaf and hard of hearing and that are blind and not as many people in wheelchairs, you could send vehicles and not a lift equipped van to quickly evacuate. And you can focus your van pickup towards where there's clusters of people in wheelchairs and mobility impairments. And that's what I'm suggesting to transportation, that we identify a list. Of course, that's a protected list. We wouldn't make that public, so that we can best practices reach out to those individuals, and so they can be aware that they can contact us in those settings, and what to understand what they might need to do during that emergency. And so that if there's going to be a shelter in place order, then we need to identify those people and let them know. So that way we have to do that, because that may happen. I mean, fire is real. I mean, it can just overwhelm even our fire departments. So those discussions are were included. So yes, people with disabilities are being factored in those decisions.
And then one of my other questions related to that then is with the use of city vehicles, in particular paratransit, how many paratransit vehicles do we have compared to need? I
Yeah.
know how many I know that it's a very small amount of
Oh,
vehicles
yeah.
from using paratransit, and having one break down and it messes with the entire day.
Yes,
Because
it
there's
does.
no backup. So
Yeah, and that's being worked on. Regina and the transit department are working on grants. I know they're working on a $25 million grant. I don't know if that includes the purchase of new vehicles, but I know that's their goal, is to purchase new vehicles. I know they got new electric uh paratransit vehicles. So that's something they've talked about. Um, but yeah, you're right. Our whole transportation system has its deficiencies. We need approximately 80 something drivers. We only have 32. And so even routes are being unable to be met because we don't have people wanting to work for the city. And so we have to increase pay and incentives to get people to want to work for the department. So that's something that all cities are experiencing right now. In addition, we're cross training paratransit and mainline systems so that everyone has a CDL. So that way, if an emergency arises, anyone can drive any vehicle. And that's what we want to do. So yeah, those things are being considered in the improvement of transportation. Um, there's so much to do. No there's no limit to what has to be done now. I mean, there's just so much to do. I have my work cut out for me. I will be busy for a long time.
in the past, when there was an issue with the lack of paratransit drivers and bus drivers rapidly dwindling before the pandemic, I don't remember what year it was, but I want to say it was around 2017, maybe 2018. The mayor's committee wrote a letter to, I believe it was the mayor, city manager, governing body, everyone, requesting that our bus drivers be better paid and be paid, and that's the system that's in place now. But do we need to write another letter, do you think, about,
No, because right now the city manager and the mayor are working towards increasing pay for not for those staff. And it's going to those individuals that need to be brought up to proper amount of pay and competitive pay so that we can be more in line with other communities so that it's also a livable wage for anyone that's working for us. That's what the mayor and the city manager are currently working on. They've come to you're going to see in the future in the meetings in the future about wage and increases and reclassification. That's what that's all about. Collective bargaining has taken place even with the police department and the fire department, and I think some of them have come to agreements, and some are still in the work in progress. But there's quite a few that are going to increase in pay. But you have to realize, my understanding is that all the increases would be a total of $7 million every year increase towards the budget, which is a lot of money. But they're not going to be able to implement all of that right away. So they're going to do a portion of it now and then down the road increase it and get to where everything has been brought up to speed. And then it'll be a reoccurring commitment to the budget of an increase of approximately $7 million, which is, I think it includes benefits and things of that nature. And so with the cost of our insurance going up, that also has to be factored in. So yes, they're working actively on making all positions competitive and attractive to people to work for the city.
that's good to know. So one thing that that I think of is happening here right now, and should be considered a critical health and safety need, is the mix between the lack of public transportation that's available because entire routes are not running properly. You have to call ahead to schedule. Hopefully they show up. Hopefully the bus didn't break down. And then we also have this infrastructure where sidewalks are being impeded by literal trees. I'm
Yeah,
gonna say it.
or
My mom
weeds.
was 6-foot tall tree growing right in the middle of the sidewalk for months, and it took 4 months for constituent services in the city to address it. By the time it was addressed, someone had hacked it down. So, praise that person who did that, because my mom was able to get her own groceries. It, there is like anyone who isn't driving, and even driving, there's potholes that are taking out people's tires and breaking axles and so the infrastructure is not functioning for any sort of pedestrian or traffic transportation, and it's making it extremely hard to live here.
And I
And
could tell you that that's what Regina's resolution that she led,
yeah,
along with with the council member Garcia. That is the vision, is to improve um, repair on existing conditions.
Yeah.
I was asked at council, what are we doing about existing conditions? And I said nothing, because that was exactly what was happening. And this resolution is going to pave, pardon the pun, the way for us to address funding through the budget process and request through the budget process what needs to be done, both pathways, bike trails, and streets. And of course, that the potholes, Regina, I think said they did 6,000 potholes, if not more. And so, yeah, they're doing quite a few things, but again, it all comes down to money.
Yeah.
And that budget process and community involvement, bringing their concerns about that, helps encourage government to make the right decision. It's not always easy to allocate funds, or to determine what is a priority. But when community expresses priorities, it helps for them to make that decision. If no one shows up and doesn't tell them what's a priority, then they're just guessing.
Right.
And so that's why I'm always encouraging both you and members of the committee privately and publicly to engage in your government, stay involved, push the issues of your concern. And I will always continue to tell you to do that. Okay.
Yeah, absolutely. And I just wanted to like address that though, because to me that is a true emergency, like daily emergency need, because we need food, we need to be able to pay our bills, we need to be able to get to work, we need to be able to get to school. And so there's little emergencies happening every day that are little barriers to people accessing resources and participating in the community. And then we have these larger threats of emergency from fires or weather and other natural disasters. We have had floods here, crazy
Oh
enough.
yeah, I heard about it.
There was like 2 feet of water going into one of my neighbors' houses because they lived downhill. Yeah, and you don't think that that would happen in Santa Fe, but it absolutely happens. And so,
Well, you saw in Kentucky those tornadoes, right?
oh yeah, yeah,
Okay. Kentucky experiences tornadoes and floods.
yeah,
The last two disasters that I was a participant in helping them was tornadoes and the floods. The floods downtown in Neon, Kentucky, downtown, the waters reached 25 feet, basically almost at the bottom of a third floor building. And they were buildings that were 100 plus years old. And so they were devastated. I mean, that happens, and I'm thinking that's going to happen again this
mhm,
year,
yeah,
and it's the most poorest area of the country.
yeah.
And yes, that can happen here. I mean, we were talking about the scenario of a dam breaking, and 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 that's a possibility, and that would wipe out quite a few homes.
Yeah. Yeah, no, we are not exempt from
Mm-mm.
just about any, we've had random tornadoes, they haven't been bad yet, but we've had them. So all of those things need to have preparation to evacuate disabled people, to assist disabled people. So that's why we keep bringing it up. It's important. And there's little emergencies happening every day that are not acknowledged as little emergencies, that are impeding people from access to ER, from all of it. So,
And Brian's tuned in. Brian is aware. He is supportive of ideas. We just need to approach him and help him because he's a one-man show, and it's difficult for him too, but with us involved, and he will he will do the right thing.
so next item, thank you, Daniel. Next item is 7E, discussion and request of staff to receive the final draft of the 2024-25 MCD priorities. So Daniel, do you want to say, you can say no. Do you want to say what's happening with that?
That's the item I asked you if I could delay for a month because I haven't had a chance to work on it. And I've expressed that to Regina's also. Of course, she's with, and she wasn't happy that I haven't addressed it, and I do need to address that. And I apologize for not being able to bring something forward. I may call you as I go through it, if that's acceptable, so that we can understand where we're going with it, so that I can understand what your final vision is, if that's okay with you.
Yes, and I have a motion to make in relation to that. So I will say that when I gave Regina the draft of our mayor's committee priorities, it was because it was in relation to identifying which priorities we had that aligned with the BPAC resolution, that she could identify and extract those priorities to say how many of our priorities will be addressed with the resolution. This committee in no way gave her any authority to change one word on that document. I did see in person that she created a table and she added which departments or which people, address each need. That is incredibly helpful. And on record, I am incredibly grateful that she did that.
Okay,
I saw it. It's incredibly helpful for us to plan and prepare and say, we need to go to this person for this issue. In no way, though, did I let her or tell her or lead her on to think that she could edit any word that we wrote as far as our priorities. And in no way did the mayor's committee give her any sort of direction to do anything beyond viewing it and extracting the information for the BPAC resolution.
okay.
And so I have asked her, this was in December, mid-December. And I have asked her to receive the draft back that I witnessed her creating. She had 20 items left to do when the meeting ended. We ran over time. She told me that she would finish the last 20 items so that they were identified as to who was going to address those, and that she would email it to me.
Well, she didn't get to a chance to do that. She actually forwarded it to me, and I haven't been able to look at that because I had other things going on. But she's asked me last week to look at it, to give her feedback on it, and so we can get back to you with it. If you
So
have specific instruction that you want me to understand as I go through it, what would those instructions be?
my instructions are to do nothing because the mayor's committee has not directed anything to happen with that draft.
So you don't want me to change anything, just look at it and,
Nothing. We want the draft back as you received it.
okay.
So please email
Well,
it to me when
do
you
you
get a
want it
chance.
back as the draft that with those items in there that she made changes to? Because I think that's what
Yes.
she gave me.
Yes, we want
Okay.
exactly what you received. What I saw in that meeting is what I want. Whether it's finished or not, that's fine. We can address that. Because the mayor's committee didn't ask city staff to do even what she did. But I will acknowledge that when I saw it, I was grateful that she was willing to take that time to add everyone. But we never
Yes,
directed her to do that.
send
And
back draft.
yes, and we also, I witnessed her changing wording in our priorities because she didn't like things that were worded a certain way, or she didn't like, or certain
Yeah,
items were deleted because she said that they were done. Well, it just should have been noted that they were done, not deleted. Things like that.
okay,
So
so if you could send me an email to the effect that says to send back the draft that you reviewed with Regina with no changes.
yes,
Then
so
I will send that to you. Nonetheless, I will be looking at it as directed by Regina and giving her my feedback, whether it's valid or not. And what they do with that is up to them. And then you guys can share that information with each other.
so,
But I
so
may or
I,
may not have anything I may or may
right.
not have anything to add.
So it is my understanding that the mayor's committee directs what happens with our priorities list.
I
So
agree.
that is where we're at. And so I'm wanting to hold a vote to relinquish Daniel and Regina from any further action or duties regarding our mayor's committee priority list until we direct further action to be taken by them. Let's see. Okay, yeah. May we have a motion do you need me to reread that? Because I was
Yeah,
between.
state that. Yeah, say
Okay.
it again so that the Vicky can get that.
Thank you. I am requesting a motion to vote to relinquish Daniel and Regina from any further action or duties regarding our mayor's committee on disability priority list until we direct any further action to be taken by them. And then there's a second vote, but may we have a motion to approve?
A motion to approve.
Is there a second?
I will second it. This is
Thank
Kendra.
Thank you. May we have roll call vote, please?
And in the email, oh, never mind.
Sorry, didn't have my mic on.
That's okay, Vicky.
Chair Gish,
Yes.
Aurora Black,
Yes.
Angelique Chavez,
She is excused. She had to leave.
okay, Eli Fresquez,
Yes.
Kendra Garcia,
Yes.
Miriam Jawar, Miriam,
She's on mute.
I don't see her on my screen.
She's there. Miriam, you're on mute, and I can't unmute you.
Mute.
Yeah, she's there.
There you go, Miriam.
Yes.
Okay. And Pam Parfit.
Yes.
Okay. I would like to ask again who seconded that. I know Eli,
It was Kendra.
Kendra. Thank you.
And then the next motion
Right.
is okay, sorry, Vicky, and thank you, Vicky. I really appreciate the extra time you're taking.
And
Go
can
ahead,
I say
Daniel.
something?
Yeah.
Yes, you're gonna be sending me an email, send it back,
Yes.
but
yes.
also send me an email that reflects the action you just took.
Okay, I will.
So that way, it's clear to Regina that this is not something I decided to do because I haven't
Yes.
decided to do any of this.
No, it is us and
I mean,
our,
I'm
right.
I'm in the middle, and you know that.
I know, I know.
and so I just need you to but don't be surprised. We're going to be still giving some staff input, and don't take it wrong. You don't have to take it. You take it however you want. I mean, it's just the way it is.
The
I
way
mean,
that I will request going forward is that staff has every opportunity to come to us. We are not at all closed to staff recommendations, requests, suggestions, but it's up
excellent,
to us to decide.
excellent.
And we
Okay.
can say no, just let you know,
Yeah.
we have that authority. But we have always been open to that, and that continues. It's not, but it needs to be in a way that is in compliance with how citizen advisory committees and city staff work together.
Yes. And we have, as staff, we have every intention to work with you in identifying those concerns and working towards a solution. So know that that's what we're trying to do.
Thank you,
Okay.
Daniel. I appreciate that. And I don't feel, I have notes to vote to take action for Daniel to submit the chair, the list of priorities he's received exactly as he received it, because I know no action has been taken against it since Regina, since the last draft I saw in person with Regina. And I'm thinking, well, let's just vote on this because that way it's like doubly action that Daniel is to send me the priorities list exactly as it was received by him.
Okay, well, why don't you state the motion
Okay.
a little clear, and then
So
everyone can understand what you want
Okay.
exactly.
I make a motion to vote to take action by Daniel to submit to the chair myself our priorities list exactly it was received and given by Daniel. May we have a motion to approve?
I motion to approve.
Is there a second?
I second. Miriam Jahar.
Thank you. May we have roll call vote, please?
Chair Gish,
Yes.
Aurora Black,
Yes.
Angelique Chavez.
She's
Oh, she left. I forgot.
yeah.
I'm sorry.
That's okay.
Eli Fresquez,
Yes.
Kendra Garcia,
Yes.
Miriam Jahar,
Yes.
and Pam Parfit.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, Vicky. Now I have all my papers all over. 1 second. Okay. And next is, well, we're at 5 o'clock. Next is Disability Pride Month 2024. Discussion on events and event planning with vote on recommendations and any subcommittee or staff actions. And I'm thinking to, in the interest of time, You know, I guess Eli, if you want to do a quick rundown, you've been more involved in it than I am. But just do a quick rundown of what we are thinking, what we've been planning. We've been doing a lot, like we've been doing a lot of the work with you, me, and Angelique, to incorporate many of the same aspects that we had last year. There are some new things we've been thinking of doing and trying. So go ahead, Eli.
Yeah, so we're very much at the beginning stages of Disability Pride Month, July 2024. Two things. The first one is we tentatively want to host a first in the state, I believe, Disability Pride Parade. We don't know how long it's going to be or what exactly the logistics are. And try to have it also centered around the raising of the Disability Pride flag as well. Tentatively have that for Saturday, July 13th. As we get more details, we will share, but we're in conversations with the city on how to do the proper permitting, what are the logistics involved. It's going to be in the morning for lots of different reasons, mostly because it's going to be cooler in the morning and will allow some setup time. So we're thinking roughly around 7:30 setup time, parade actually starting around 9 or 10, and then going on till around noon or 1. All these things are very flexible because we're just in the beginning planning stages. The second item is the Accessibility Awards. So we're looking to have our second annual Accessibility Awards. Right now, tentatively, the date for that is July 27th. That's a Saturday at the Hotel Drury, which is right off the plaza downtown. That's the Drury on July 27th. In the evening, that's Saturday. Very much in the beginning stages there, but we met with the venue hosts at the Drury, myself, Chair Gish, and Angelique. They were excellent. They sounded like they were going to be great hosts. Very accessible building. There's a few little places I found. I'm sure Daniel would find them as well. But it's pretty good. And I think it's going to be a really exciting event. We're looking to expand the number of folks that we will have as participants and guests at our meeting. We're again looking to also incorporate city leadership, the mayor, his team, city councilors, but also state leadership as well. Last year, for example, we had Representative Tara Lujan, Representative Worth. So we're just excited to expand on this by about 50 more guests, give or take, maybe possibly slightly more than what we had from our original first annual last year. So the 13th and the 27th of July, pencil that in. Right now, we're planning on having that parade and flag raising, and then also on the 27th to have the second annual Accessibility Awards commemorating the Americans with Disabilities Act. So Chair Gish, I don't know if you have anything else to add, but want to thank the city for being a collaborator and a partner on this. But it's very much something that we're doing independently of the city as well. This is community led, and so we want to keep it that way.
Yeah, the only thing I have to add is that me and Angelique had intended and are intending still to work on the library displays for the month of July, because we couldn't find one on the south end. We found one, a very small display that was not accessible, with an 8.5 by 11 printed paper that talked about Disability Independence Day being July 26th. And then downtown was a very small display on the ADA. The book selection to me was okay. It was a mix of disabled authors and topics on disability, which is wonderful. But the display itself was really needing to be expanded and really make it a celebration, which it is. And there was nothing on Disability Pride. It was like I said, ADA and Disability Independence Day. And so we are working or intend to work with city staff to increase those displays, to make them more accessible, more viewable, more findable. The library director stated that there was a display at each library. We never found the one on the south end. So, I mean, that's, how obvious it was. And so it's important that we have this display. We have seen other displays for LGBTQI plus, for Pride Month, for Pride, for LGBTQI plus, for Women's Month, for, Black History Month, and we really would like to be involved in the process and make this disability-led, community-led, as to the messaging and the accessibility and what is included in these. And so that is our plan for the libraries. If we come up with anything else, we will let you know, but, and right now, if anyone on the mayor's committee wants to be involved in these, let us know. We are at a point where we can have people join us. We have an organized plan, and it's still flexible enough for personal input and everything else. We can fully incorporate you into these plans and make something really amazing happen.
On a different subject, this is Daniel. I was reading somewhere where the time has come for schools to now teach disability history. How they talk about slavery and things of that nature, that why can't we talk about people with disabilities and the history of this country and how it's come to where we are today, from when people were involuntarily incarcerated because of their disability to now to where the issues that we're facing today, and that be taught as a component of education in the school systems. That's something that's an interesting idea that I saw, because no one's, it's like they're by not teaching it, they're not acknowledging that there wasn't anything wrong. And there was, and we all know there was.
Right.
And
The
there were
independent
pioneers.
living, yeah, the independent living movement, how that came forward with everybody, you know.
All right. I'm trying to save Nadine's links that she's sending me. So we're sending.
Okay,
So that's what I'm doing. Sorry.
no problem.
And I agree with that. Absolutely. One of the things that happened, that Angelique sent me that she was very excited about, was the women's history display that was at the library was fantastic. And if we could have something like that with a disability history display, it's exactly what you were mentioning. It would be fantastic. And, highlight the history of disabled experience in this country. And it's not perfect. We all know that. It is
Oh God,
it's
no.
not changed,
A lot of
significantly.
fight.
It's
still going.
a lot of fights. So yeah, those are the kinds of things that we're discussing and wanting to discuss with the library director, who I had spoken with also, and who told me that she has personal family experience with disability as well. So she is aware of and interested in doing more.
And then we also need to involve the Pueblo, because
Yeah.
as they talk about their disability issues, we need to bring them in.
Yeah, they were included in our accessibility awards last year. They received an award. Absolutely. And that Angelique is very, very vocal on the importance of including our Pueblos in what we are doing. And they also are a very good example of what to do, with their cultural ways that they're doing it. It makes it culturally inclusive. With intersectionality, with everything, that's what we're trying to incorporate awareness of in the city. So next item, and I thank everyone here. I really appreciate Eli. You have done so much work on all of this with Disability Pride, especially with the emergency kits with the websites. I really appreciate everything that you've been doing. So thank you. Hold on. Next is discussion items, no action, and subcommittees. Matters from Mayor's Committee subcommittees. Aurora?
The Transit Advisory Board is still having a hard time getting off the ground, but when I read through the BPAC materials, twice at least, they mentioned that they wanted to have a representative on the public transportation group. So we emailed him, the Chair Garcia, and asked, hey, give us a name. We're ready. We want them. So we'll see, transit is in really bad shape.
It's
As we
getting,
heard several
they're working
times.
on it. They're working
Yeah.
on it.
But we need the advisory board back too.
Yes.
It was hard
Right.
enough for us to reconvene after a year just from the pandemic. It took me like a year or over a year to feel like I had something that I was working with, and then Tom quit. And then it just right
Yeah.
back. Yeah.
Well, and everybody on the committee came back.
Yeah.
And we didn't have that with transit. We had 3 or 4 people who are like, I'm done.
Yeah.
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 It's
Well,
very,
I expressed the trend in that committee as well.
I missed, there was a middle part I didn't hear.
I said, this is Daniel. I asked Transit to allow me to attend the meetings to be involved.
Yeah.
I still think someone from their staff needs to be the liaison more so, someone who's an expert in transit on their end, but that I would be willing to participate also.
yeah. And if they want, if they would find it being helpful to maybe attend our meetings, we can express, how important public transportation is to us, and things like that. And because I've been through the process of trying to organize a committee to restart again, I'm more than happy to help them, because that transit advisory board really sincerely helped my life, when I had issues, and to address the concerns that I was having with paratransit. So, so I'm more than happy to assist, with anything that I can feasibly assist with.
Okay. Yeah,
Mhm.
I'll pump your depths of knowledge in the near future.
It's a specialty, I'll tell you that much. Okay, one second.
Boy, I'm feeling bad. Ugh.
Yeah, I know. I'm almost done. Pam, if you have something to say really quick.
Really quick.
Yeah.
HLAA has an open meeting on understanding tinnitus. If anyone wants the flyer for April 20th at 10 a.m. at the Board of Realtors on North Guadalupe, you want that flyer to give to anybody, let me know. Second, Presbyterian Hospital invited the deaf and the hard of hearing communities to speak to their staff about what it is like, what we want them to know when we go in a hospital. Was excellent.
Nice.
So thank you, Pam. And then what time is that? I don't think you said what time.
10 a.m.
Okay. Thank you so much. Nat Dean, go ahead.
This is Nat. I'm sorry. The captioning said there was a fire on a stucco wall, and I'm not sure what that was in reference to. It was when Pam was stating something. It said something about a fire on the stucco wall in the captioning. I have no idea what that was. Something about Presbyterian Hospital, then fire on a stucco wall. Could you just repeat the announcement, Pam? I'm sorry.
There are two things. One is HLAA has an open meeting. The topic is understanding tinnitus, two different pronunciations of the same word. It's on April 20th at 10 a.m. 510 North Guadalupe at the Santa Fe Association of Realtors. If anyone wants that flyer to give out to anyone else, knows clients or whatever, please let me know. I'll send it to you. The second subject had to do with Presbyterian Hospital asking the deaf and hard of hearing communities to speak at the hospital to their staff, letting the staff know the needs of the hard of hearing and deaf communities when we try to interact with healthcare.
This is Nat. Thank you very much for the clarification. I think the captioning captured something Presbyterian Hospital's fire in Essequibo. I don't know how it did that, but got the information. Thank you so much.
Thank you both. Are there any subcommittee reports? No? Okay. Next is item 9, matters from staff. Are there any
Okay.
matters?
I look forward to getting your emails pertaining to the parties list. Based on how I'm feeling right now, I'm thinking I'm taking Friday off because I just don't feel good at all.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I'll be available on Monday for anyone who needs me.
Yeah.
And
Yeah,
Regina
please.
won't be happy.
Please feel better, and I will send you that email right away tonight. And
CC Regina.
yeah, okay, I will.
Yeah.
And I will let everyone know that the mayor's committee held a vote. And if she has an issue, we can meet with me and Eli and you and have a discussion.
Yeah, also CC Vicky because she's the one that has the
Okay.
minutes and information that
Yeah,
it's
and I
helpful
need
for her.
Vicky, if I forget to send
Mhm.
you, because I can't do all of this tonight, I'm probably gonna have time to get the email out to Daniel. If I forget to send you my agenda draft, please, please, please email me by Friday. I want you to have it.
I have it. I kept a
But-
copy with the first time you sent it.
Oh,
Yeah,
yeah,
we did.
okay,
Yeah, we did.
okay,
Yeah, we did.
okay.
Yeah, Vicky really is on the ball with that stuff. When I
Okay.
can't find something, she has it.
Awesome, okay. Yeah,
really
yeah, I
great.
forgot that you were CC'd into that, because yeah, okay, awesome, thank you. Okay, next is matters from the committee, and I just want to thank everyone here, and I want to thank Vicky and Daniel for the support for these committees. And I want to thank all of the members of this committee. We are amazing as a committee, and we are doing amazing things. And I have had that confirmed this week more so than I mean, it's amazing. I'm going to tell you guys more outside of this meeting, but we are doing amazing things, and we will be continuing to do amazing things. So, and what we do is incredibly important for the disability community in voicing our issues and concerns of the disabled people of Santa Fe. So thank you all. I really appreciate you. If anyone else has anything to say on matters of the committee.
Feel better, Daniel.
Yeah,
Yeah,
feel better,
thank you.
Daniel.
Thank you.
Looking at the next meeting, it says April 3rd.
Yeah, that was because of an error on my part. And the next meeting is actually May 1st. It is May 1st. It's the first Wednesday, May 1st, 2024 from 3 to 5 p.m.
Did I send everyone a calendar?
No.
I think so. No.
Okay, well, I think I have a calendar with the meetings and the link. I'll
Okay.
send it all to everyone.
Thank you.
Okay. And if you don't get it, email me.
Okay, absolutely. And so our next meeting is May 1st, 2024 from 3 to 5 p.m. And with that, we are adjourned at 5:16 p.m.
Thank you,
Thank
everyone.
you.
Thank
Bye.
you,
Thank
everyone.
you.
I'm gonna
Bye,
call Vicky.
everyone. Your cat is adorable, Daniel.
Oh yes, I have 2 of them.
He's gone. He's gone. He left the couch.
All right, have a
Okay.
good evening,
Bye.
everyone. Feel better, Daniel.
Thank you.